Oh, hello and good evening. Sorry, I don't know why I played that twice. Just a little bit of a slip of the finger there. Technology, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I see the numbers are rising up in the top corner there. Don't forget, you can watch this on Facebook or YouTube. Don't forget to share this out to your friends. The more, the merrier. And also, don't forget that we are really active in the comments. So don't forget to say hello in the comments there on either Facebook or YouTube. It all shows up on my screen in front of me. Hello, Ned. Thanks for being first online. I'm still trying to work out how to make you an admin in the comments, Ned, as you seem to be the most prolific commenter about. Hello, Mark. Thanks for joining us as well. And yeah, look, we'll slowly kick in. We'll start getting going on this. Now we're going to have one guest tonight, a very important one. But firstly, we'll just acknowledge a previous guest, and that was Trish, who was on our first episode in regards to BYD. I asked her to come tonight last minute, but she's actually got COVID. But thankfully, the dealer delivered the car to her. How nice is that of the dealer to do that? So yeah, and I'm sure there's a few people out there now that are starting to get their BYDs. So congratulations. Hello, Hurricane. And Demindus, interesting name there. I'd be interested to know where that is if you want to comment and tell us. Yeah. Now, if we'll go for one more name, and that is our panelist for the evening, and that is another, I guess, automotive media person, and somewhat Trisha. Yeah, there we go. You're alive, and somewhat of a legend in the New Zealand EV community for his conversions and also his content, and that is Gavin Shoebridge. Thanks for joining us, Gavin, or Gav as we're going to call you tonight.
God, that's a bit of a hype. How can I live up to that? Crikey.
Now, how have you been lately? You're fairly busy out there testing a few things and doing potentially dumb things
really
in electric vehicles?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, nothing intelligent. No, it's a heady mix of infotainment and stupidity. And it's keeping me busy. It's good. Yeah.
What have you been driving lately that's interesting?
Well, the most interesting thing I've been driving was what I was driving last week. That's the electric tugboat. That was definitely, I cannot say officially whether or not they let me drive it because that would be breaking maritime laws. But if they did let me drive it, which they didn't, it was fantastic. Be able to control the thrusters in theory. It was epic. That's a real awesome machine. I'd love to talk about that in more detail, but it's I could be talking about it for half an hour. It's an awesome machine, fully electric tugboat.
Well, you can, but let's show this little video clip you sent me to
Okay.
Pop up on the screen now. And you're welcome to talk over it and tell us, or we'll listen to it.
Yeah.
Play.
I don't think it's got any audio, so I'll just babble on.
Yeah, Babylon.
Okay, I should address what's written on the back of my jacket is in Slovak. It stands for, it means innocent bystander. So this is Sparky, the electric tug. It's entirely battery powered, 2,780 kilowatt hours of battery packs right in that room there. Two-person crew, two giant motors, azimuth motors that spin around. Those giant blue things in the background there, that's the engineer there. We got to climb all over the ship. We did donuts and went nose to nose with Hauraki, the diesel tug. And then we did, what was it called? A stern up flick, which is this thing where we spin the back around. Basically, this thing it's the perfect replacement for a diesel tug because it'll do 2 hours, I think it was, without on one charge, which is enough for 3 or 4 shipping runs. It's got accommodation. It's got washing machines, bathrooms, everything you need. It's got a galley. Honestly, I was seriously impressed by this machine. That just does everything you'd need a tug to do.
Is it just electric, or has it got an engine on board as well to charge? Or
it has a backup generator, and I asked the engineer how often do the 2 diesel backup generators get used, and he said they haven't used them in 2 weeks. The only real reason they use them is for emergencies, or on the back of that vessel there's a fire hose that they use for putting out fires, or for when a ship comes through and they shoot that giant arc of water. That is powered direct drive off one of the diesel generators. So in order to run that pump, they have to run the generator. But otherwise, they don't use the engine at all.
How do they normally charge it?
It's got 4 CCS plugs, 4 times 350 kilowatts in a box. That if you see the video, the full video, it's got a box that they pull over with a rope on an arm. It comes down. open the latch. Inside are 4 CCS cables. They plug them into 4 CCS plugs on the boat, and it charges in about 1 hour 40 minutes. That's from 20 to 90% full. So it's sucking down a lot of power.
So they've got a couple of hyperchargers at the
It's all inside a giant big green concrete room. We didn't go in there, so as one thing, the only thing they couldn't really tell us, they were really open about everything, was the total price. That's a closely guarded secret, but they did tell me that it will pay itself off in about a decade.
Wow, that's pretty good. I guess they need the diesel generators on board, because I imagine if they are fighting a fire or something like that, you really don't want to be able to have to run back for charge. So
yeah, that, and if it's going long distance, because it was built in Vietnam and then came down here. I think it came down here under its own power. It's a fairly sturdy vessel, and they had to use the diesel generators for that. But other than that, for all its around harbour running, no diesel at all used. It's all entirely battery powered. It's got 4 DC to DC converters on as well. So it's brilliant. It's absolutely. What's surreal is that you get in there, and you'll see this in the video. We pull away from the dock. The loudest thing is the air conditioning system. It's spooky. It's fantastic. It's really intoxicating, eh? It's great. Everyone on board was just having a great time. They put up with all of my tugging and seaman jokes as well. It was brilliant. Great group.
Which one won between the electric tug and the diesel tug in a head-to-head?
Well, it wasn't a head-to-head. I thought it was going to be, but it was more of a sort of like two pirouetting around each other. So it wasn't a head-to-head. It did look like it from outside, but apparently the diesel has the petrol. Electric has just as much power as the diesel one. They're equal. So I don't think there'd be much of a match. But yeah, it was good fun.
And best way for people to watch that video, or for that matter, all of your videos?
The easiest way is just go to YouTube and type in Ecotricity. Or if you want to be more specific for that one, Sparky is the name of the tug. So if you go to YouTube and type in Sparky, you will definitely find the video. It's awesome. A lot of fun, but I have warned you, there are some inappropriate puns in there. I grew up watching a Low. So
careful, you're showing your age. Anyway, right. Well, I've been out driving a few interesting things over the last week. One of the most interesting ones was a scooter. I did a bit of a roadie down country in the BMW i4 M50, which, of course, is a brilliant electric car. I'm not sure if you've had a chance to drive that yet, Gav.
Not yet, not that one.
It's pretty cool. It's about the only thing out there that's as quick as a Tesla Model 3 Performance in that kind of price range. It's in the same kind of ballpark pricing as that. That was a neat car. But what I was carrying in the boot was a Storm Rides Wolf something GT 72-volt scooter. I'll have a story coming out in the next issue of EVs and Beyond. And that thing is mean. So this is a off-road scooter. It can go at up to 100 kilometers an hour. They say if you feather it, you might actually get 180k of range, though even the distributor suggests that's a bit fanciful. That's more the manufacturer claiming that. I'm a big lad, and I managed to see, without even really trying, 75k an hour in controlled conditions, of course, on the top speed level, so level 5, but in single motor mode. So I was still only using really half of the potential power. This thing was crazy, and it's a little bit raised off the ground. I wish I'd loaded a phone onto the system. It's remiss of me not to do so. I was going over mountain bike tracks in it. We were supposed to do the Old Coach Road. It was actually stopped from doing the Old Coach Road simply by the fact that we didn't put knobbly tyres on it first, and the access way to the Old Coach Road was wet grass. So all the things it can do, it got stopped by a small hill of wet grass.
It's dual motor.
Dual motor. Yep. I've ridden a couple of dual motor scooters now. I don't actually like the dual motor aspect. I think even off-road, I feel more comfortable with rear-wheel drive, just because you can feel them a little bit more. You find that with the front-wheel drive on the scooters, I think it makes the front wheel a little less stable, but still heaps and heaps of fun. Really a really cool scooter, a lot of fun, and cool to see that there's other electric stuff coming through now that hopefully might, take the place of other stuff. And while it's an off-road design machine with all that suspension and that kind of stuff, the guy at Storm Rides was saying that they get a lot of people buying it who have big commutes. So, this is a bike that you could really easily cross Auckland faster than a car in the morning using the bike lanes and going.
I've not seen this machine. Is it like a scooter, Vespa scooter, or like a moped, or like
a stand-on scooter, a stand-up kick scooter?
Oh God! Okay. I had a different picture in my mind. Okay, because I was thinking, do you have a motorbike license?
I have a motorbike license as well. Yes.
Oh wow. Okay.
Still pondering the offer from Harley Davidson to ride their electric offering. Not sure if I've quite got the skills for that, but this is literally it's not a Lime scooter. It's.
I know what you mean. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so dual motor and a lot of power, but slick tires.
Exactly. Just didn't. It would have been foolish of me to try and do more.
Not without cameras rolling. You need cameras rolling for that.
But you can put knobbly tires on it. It does have those available. I'm just going to see if I can actually upload a file here so we can have a look.
While you're doing that, let me just apologize for anyone that might hear a vague humming noise in the background. That is the fan in my computer power supply tonight has just started going. And I realized I'd make a terrible parent because you remember those ads, I think it was back in the 90s, that said, never shake a baby. And here I am shaking the life out of my computer to try and make it quiet before we went live. So it turns out I'd make a terrible parent.
Right, well, let's just see if I can get this technology to work. And this may kick us all offline, but let's see what this does.
Okay.
Can anyone see that? Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So that's the beast. It was so much fun, really fun, and I mean, sure, I could have pedaled, but where's the fun in that? But I think next time I'd go to an e-bike. But yeah, we'll see. Highly recommend the Old Coach Road. Highly recommend Owakuni to anyone. There's so much. It's so expensive to go to Queenstown now. Owakuni's pretty awesome. It's the poor man's Queenstown. Anyway.
I think they put that in the brochure, didn't they?
Now, the other thing I've been driving is something that I picked up this afternoon, and I will, again, shove a wee video up there and people can check this out. And afterwards, Gavin, I'll hook you up with the guys so you can give this a try as well, maybe.
All right, please do, yeah.
Really quick rough video before I go live on the stream. This is what I've just bought home from Auckland.
How's that for a cool looking
That's right,
car?
it is the Ora Cat that I know a few people have been waiting for. Sorry if the sound's a bit windy here. Now this is actually a pre-production car built in Germany, of all places, in Frankfurt or something like that, Dusseldorf, I don't know. It is here on a dealer plate. It's got all sorts of paperwork to be here. It is a funky little thing. I can open the boot, show you what that is. Quite a big boot for a little bit hatchback. It looks like a little hatchback, but it seems a little more spacious than that. There's the back seat. Very funky green interior. And excusing my transport mess, there's the crazy interior. Yeah, quite a lot of retro cues. I mean, look at those HVAC things over there. Goldfish on the screen. So we'll have more on this later, but we'll discuss it on the stream. So that's a hand-built pre-production model out of Germany, strangely. It's a really cool little car, a little bit different. It looks like a small hatchback, and it is sort of, but interior space it feels pretty big. Not quite maybe as spacious as a MGZS, but certainly a lot more spacious inside than say a Renault Zoe. And I kind of feel like it's going to fit the spot in the market where the Renault Zoe was, but it's a lot cheaper.
It does. When I look at it, I think Renault, that boot, that big badonkadonk on the back, it's got that booty. But it looks like a mixture of all different makes and models. It's got that Hyundai Ioniq Kia EV6 dashboard with the displays. But it's its own thing going on with the dashboard design.
And
bits and pieces.
Yeah, and goldfish swimming across it. So what we know so far is they're looking at bringing at least 2 models into the country. The first one's likely to be a version of that, but with a glass roof and so forth, with a 64 kilowatt hour battery, so a fairly sizable battery, for about $50,000 we gather. That one that we're actually driving has actually got a 50 kilowatt LFP battery, or just under 50 kilowatt LFP battery. And I've actually tried to convince the distributor that's the one to have, but maybe cheaper. Because I kind of feel like we've got enough cars that'll do the range now. We need some cheaper, not necessarily lower range, but medium size, medium capable range cars. So I'm kind of hassling them to say, get something lower in the 40s with that 50 kilowatt battery. If you can do 50 grand for 64 kilowatts, surely you could do that. It also means we're really starting to see cars now drop under $1,000 per kilowatt hour in regards to the whole car. And that's a pretty cool point to break, I think, shifting into that that new kind of space. If we just duck across to the comments, ignoring ones that I'll cover later. Ned says,
Crikey,
we do. Ned says, Steve went for a burn on the back of a live wire and came back pale. Leon says, Ora Cat. Trisha says, is it the Good Cat Ora or Ora Cat? Warren says, Ora is the brand, model is the Good Cat. That's someone's got it right. Great Wall Motor. Yep, it is part of Great Wall Motor, Ora. Ned says Goldfish like the Honda E. Yes, this is a lot more spacious than a Honda E, a bit quicker and a heck of a lot more range. And Ned says, how fast does it charge? Has it got CCS? Yes, it's got CCS. How fast does it charge? I don't know. The distributors have only tested it here on a 50 kilowatt unit. I've deliberately run it down a little, and I'm going to go check it on the ChargeNet hypercharger out at Kaiwaka tomorrow and see what I can do with it in regards to charging speed. But I understand it does charge faster than 50. But of course, the tricky thing is that one is the 50 kilowatt LFP battery, so it's likely to charge slower than the 64 kilowatt production car that is set to come to New Zealand. So, it's a cool car. Interesting to see whether they can get it here and what the final price is and whether they can get that cheaper version.
I've got to say that in the video, I absolutely loved your nails, by the way. Looked fantastic.
Yes. Well, when you have a toddler and she insists that mummy paints her nails and then mummy paints daddy's nails, you get your nails painted. You'll learn one day. Dad's out there. Comment if you understand. Comment if you understand. The nails were an interesting addition to the boys' trip, though.
Well, one thing I wanted to point out, you mentioned if there's any cars, anything interesting I've driven. I haven't driven anything, other than the Tug remarkable. But I did take a Tesla last week from Wellington to Auckland. Now, this is not going to be anything interesting for anyone that's already done this journey. You've already done this journey. I'd never driven that far in a Tesla before. I'd never taken one long distance. So I wanted to see, I took one of the cars from Go Rentals, the Tesla Model 3s, to go from Wellington to Auckland, not to see how fast I can do it, because I don't know what my time should be, but to see how easy it is. And that was interesting. I didn't expect it to be, I know obviously I'm a proponent of electric cars. I love them, but I didn't expect it to be that easy. I thought there would be at least some waiting around in the car. No. It was brilliant.
My take on the long trips, and look, people can jump onto the EVs on YouTube channel and see some of my longer trips before. And to answer a question from someone earlier on in regards to when is my BYD long range test video coming out, I know it's late, but I put out the delivery video last week, and it's just gone so crazy. I think we're 40-something thousand views now, that we figured we'd wait a little. Plus, it's been taken a long time to cut that up. There was a lot of footage, as I'm sure Gav can appreciate from his trips.
It takes forever. Do you find that per minute of actual finished video is an hour of editing, sound adjustment, cutting, copying, pasting, cleaning up?
Well, I'm unlucky that I don't have someone paying me just to do videos.
Oh, ouch.
No, I think I'd rather be in your position, to be honest, because I've got to kind of squeeze it in late at night between other things, and it certainly takes some time. I think it's why mine are quite a bit rougher than yours. Rougher.
I wouldn't say that.
Interestingly, just touching on videos, and I'm not sure if you've ever had this before, Gav, but someone has lifted our BYD delivery video, revoiced it in Chinese and slightly recut it and put it on Baidu. And it was going crazy. It had a couple of thousand likes and it had heaps of comments. I couldn't read or understand any of it.
Yeah,
But yeah.
that's about right. I think copyright infringement doesn't translate well into Mandarin. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's funny. Back to the comments. Mark Jackerman, yep, he gets the nails. Trisha, your painted nails would suit the Ora Cat.
Yes.
Well, they're kind of pink. They should be in green, I think, to match. Margaret Baker's asking what time I'll be at Kaiwaka. I could probably mention that on Facebook if I manage to work out the time. I need to go a bit of a loop and burn off a bit more battery, I think. Michael says only if you like the pink nails. I think they look pretty snazzy. And Stephen Baxter says, at 19 months old, I'm doing ponytails, not up to nail painting yet. I do not have the hair for a ponytail. Right. Now, this is all dragged on long. We will go back to another of your vehicle drives when we get to the end. But let's run through some news for the day, he says, rushing to find his terrible, terrible stings. That's still super cheesy. Right. It's so cheesy, I don't know if I want to replace it. I had great intentions.
No, don't change it. Don't change it. Make it
exactly.
Make it cheesy if you can.
Yeah. Now, let's start with some excellent news, particularly for road trips. And we're just going back to what you're saying. Yeah, I swear I'd spend more time normally eating, running around, taking a break than I would actually charging. The $4.8 million extra has been pledged for EV chargers by the government. Further funds to help buy EVs and install charging infrastructure has been announced. Climate Change Minister James Shaw has allocated another $4.8 million from the government's $220 million state sector decarbonisation fund to purchase more EVs and energy-efficient lighting. It includes $1.467 million to the Department of Internal Affairs for EVs and to install charging infrastructure for 48 vehicles. The department will put $1.659 million from its own budget. The purchase is expected to reduce carbon emissions by about 709 tonnes over 10 years. I actually saw the other day on social media that Hyundai New Zealand was starting to train the Department of Internal Affairs on those cars. Pretty important to do the training attached to that. Now, interestingly, part of the various bits of funding that's at the moment out there is the government's in talk with charging providers about the development of a charging hub as an experiment. So they're working out where that's going to be. I had a chat with someone over the weekend about a few ideas of where that could be, but we're talking about big service station style thing, roof over the top, lots and lots of chargers like we see in Norway. That would have made your trip maybe a little bit easier, Gav.
Oh, I would have liked that.
Yeah.
Well, the charging from Wellington to Auckland's a piece of cake. The Tesla chargers, of course, you can use charging it as well, but the Tesla superchargers, never seen a queue, just rock on up, plug in, and by the time I've gone and used the facilities, come back, it's already put in 30% battery into the car. So I thought, well, that's enough. Unplug and carry on. It's brilliant. It's just brilliant. But I love the idea of a charging hub. That's brilliant because then you could talk. Did you find that when you're charging your electric car, you can't help but chat to the person next to you, and you end up, because everyone's got a different electric car now, you end up looking at each other's cars and explaining, and someone's got some feature or gadget. Like, once there was a Tesla there that had remote control bonnet that lifted up. And of course, you wanted to show that off, took videos. It's kind of a communal thing, unless it's raining.
Now, the question is where we'd put them, and I'd love to hear in the comments where people think the first charging hub or multiple charging hubs should go. My idea is that they should put it probably at about Paraparaumu or something off the motorway for a couple of reasons. One, it would just simply be handy to have something in that area, but two, any of the politicians being forced to drive an EV, and I think they've got some MGZSs in the government fleet now that the MPs can drive. When they're driving out of Wellington, perfect location. And, you got Lease that can't do Transmission Gully. Well, they can charge up now at Paraparaumu, and the other EVs can run straight down to there. Where I would like them further north is probably Bulls, which is where we're getting a big round of hyperchargers too. And Tirau. Tirau is my favourite place in the North Island to charge. It's such a great location because it's just after you get off the Waikato Expressway, which is at 110k an hour, is a bit of an energy hog. And then from there, you can split to go to Taupo, you can split to go to Rotorua or further, and further afield onto Napier and so forth. Anywhere you'd like to see a charging hub Gav, other than outside your front door?
Well, yeah, that would be my first guess. Logic dictates, because I'm an Aucklander and therefore nothing else in New Zealand exists, that it would kind of make sense to be somewhere for me in the city or in the suburbs, like on an arterial route. But then, of course, everyone in Auckland's already charging at home, or most of them are anyway. So that's kind of like, that's only good for visitors.
Yeah,
So
we don't need chargers in Auckland.
I would go somewhere, arterial route for sure, maybe just south of Hamilton. Not in Hamilton, because driving in Hamilton is a nightmare.
Well, that's T-Rail. T-Rail is just off the motorway south of
right.
Hamilton. Yeah.
All right, whatever he said.
Yeah. Ned Van Giffen says, where are we? Just off the new Hamilton bypass.
Yes.
T-Rail. T-Rail. Government, listen. T-Rail. ChargeNet, if you're listening. Next hyperchargers, T-Rail. The 50 kilowatts there are great hyperchargers. Ross Welcome says, love one in Christchurch. Very cool, but I think you need to think outside the cities for these. So I think we've seen some charger congestion further up the country for people to drive around from around Kaikoura to get back to Nelson. I think somewhere in that kind of thing, I don't know. Trisha Hudson says, yes, T-Rail. Ned says, bit further north than T-Rail though. It's too close to Taupo for a 40 kilowatt. Need something around east-south Hamilton. Yeah, I guess so. Taupori Hub just off the expressway. Yep. I like Taupori because you got Taco Bell. Mark Smith says, not in shopping malls. Those ones are a pain in the ass.
Yes, absolutely agree with Mark. Definitely. And great in theory if you just got one or two cars, but if you want a hub, no way, no chance.
Jonathan Goodall says Picton. Yep.
Yeah.
Mark Bickingham says, hi, Richard, Big Gav, I'm late to the party.
That's all right. Better late than never.
Mark Jackerman says Taipi. Taipi would be good. Yep, I think Taipi would be good. Kind of just before the big climb. Hurricane James says T-Rail. Jonathan Goodall says Coomera Junction. That's the one I was thinking of in the South Island. That would be one of the great spots. And Ned says cheesy beef burrito. Well, they do a lunch special that they do all day at the moment. You get a cheesy beef burrito, chips, cheese sauce, a drink, and a chocodilla, Ned. There you go, for $10. $10.
I think you're right. I'm just looking at the map now of what is around T-Rail, and yeah, that seems like a good spot. The distance from Cambridge and Tokoroa, that's not a bad spot.
Yeah. Yep. Paul O'Connor says Kaikoura. Yep. Definitely think hyperchargers need to go on at Kaikoura, Paul. Such a good location for once you're off the ferry, particularly if you've charged up in Hamilton. Ross Walkman says Oamaru is a great place. Usually need lunch by then. Exactly. Right. Well, who knows? Hopefully there's politicians listening amongst the people on this. Definitely I hope someone from ChargeNet is. And we've just given you the list of where your hyperchargers need to go next. Exactly.
Done your job for you. The cheesy beef burrito, is that from Taco Bell?
Yes.
Well,
it's one of the many.
Okay, I'm not a huge Mexican food fan because it looks like someone's already eaten it. But the Taco Bell Mexican is kind of it's palatable.
It's terrible, but
that's probably why I like it.
Yeah. Quesadillas, man. Quesadillas. If anyone's ever up in Mangawhai, where we have some great charging around us, if I may add, there's a great little Mexican restaurant called Gringas here. Highly recommend. I'm trying to campaign for a charger outside. Right. Now, our next story is the Rivian R1S has been seen in New Zealand and US customer deliveries have started. A Rivian R1S SUV has been spotted in Christchurch, but few details are available. It was among 3 Rivian R1Ss in EVs and camouflage wrapping, reportedly to come from Otago, so it's likely to have been doing winter testing of the Enduro powertrain. Now, my talking points here ask if there's any speculative update on whether Rivian's coming to New Zealand. I think we might be lucky to see Rivian leaving America at all at this stage. I think they're really struggling in a bit of production hell. I can't see this generation of Rivians making it to New Zealand anytime soon. I don't know if what your thoughts are on it, Gav, but
No,
or if
no.
anyone else in the comments has any thoughts. But
Well,
they
we
just
don't
seem
know
to be.
pricing yet. Even if they do, we can only hypothesize. But yeah, it's a busy market, and that's not going to be a cheap vehicle.
No. I mean that R1 is just sitting there. I would suggest by the time it lands in New Zealand, it's going to be north of $200,000. I know there's been talk of it being like the pickup truck being 150. It's not. It's just not. Yeah, this is a car that's going to compete with the Model X in America, and yeah, it's a very cool vehicle. I would love desperately to drive one, but
What do you think on the styling compared to the pickup truck?
I think it looks cool. I really like the vehicles where they've taken a ute and kind of chucked a hatch on the back.
Have you seen the Jeep? Is it Gladiola, whatever it is? It's a Jeep turned into a pickup truck. They're everywhere in the USA.
Yeah,
It's kind of it's kind of like someone took a Hilux and a Jeep and described joining the two over the phone.
it's really very long. It's
long and weirdly shaped.
Yeah, no, I think the Rivian's cool, but I'm trying not to get too excited because it's just not going to make it here anytime soon. I think we're more likely to see perhaps some General Motors electric product or some Ford electric product before we see that.
Okay, so one question, because you're the logistics expert here. Why test the car in winter here rather than just wait until winter in the USA? Is it that pressed for time?
Yeah, well, if you're talking about development, a 6-month delay could be, a lot. Could be billions and billions of dollars of missed orders. And they'll be down here fine-tuning things in a particular way. I've been up the facility up at the snow farm in the South Island a number of times now. It is a world-class facility. It's not just a patch of snow. They've got racing tracks and skid pans and sheds with ice. They've got high-speed chargers up there. It's a really cool spot. And, it's really become a kind of the other side of world vehicle testing. The industry just can't afford to lose half a year, and I guess the window for them testing in North America is pretty small. So yeah, chucking on a plane down here, and I imagine the couple $100,000 it takes to fly a few down and fly some staff down is a heck of a lot cheaper than it is to wait to calibrate something or fix something. Yeah. So yeah, it's a tricky one. And of course we've seen multiple Teslas down here before. We've seen EVs from other brands. I was up there about 4 years ago when I saw the mule for the MX-30 driving right up there.
Would it not be easier logistically to put it on trucks and take it down to South America in winter?
Well, I'm not sure if they've got a custom-built facility like that down in South America. Yeah.
So I just look at the price of shipping with NZ Post and I think, wow, shipping a Rivian's got to be expensive.
Well, they're flying these things most of the time.
Oh, they're actually flying, really? I was being stupid. Okay, I didn't realize actually flying them down.
No, this is time pressure. This is time pressure is why they bring them down here, I think, to an extent. And also, as I said, the facility in New Zealand is just really good. They can live, they can test all on the same site. It's a cool facility.
How's the weather been treating them, though? Because this winter's been weird.
Been terrible in the North Island, but the snow in the South Island has been really good this year.
Oh, we have a South Island?
Yeah.
Sorry, from Auckland. Huh?
They've got EV charging down there as well. Good EV charging. Just going back to the comments, hearing lots of good stuff about Gringer's, the restaurant in Mangawhai, and hearing how wonderful Mangawhai is to live from Mark Smith. I couldn't agree with you more. Paul O'Connor says, Rivian wouldn't be here if ever for years. Margaret Baker says, it's not a bad place to drive a taxi. We did actually test. So to give people context to that, I formerly owned the taxi company in Mangawhai, and we did actually test an electric taxi here.
Really?
But Margaret Baker is one of the first EV taxi drivers in New Zealand, not here, but up in Whangarei. Mark Smith says, I have 1,000th of a Rivian share. Someone please buy the car so I can make something. Well, you see, in a similar vein, of course, with the share split, I've gone from having 1,000th of a single share in Tesla to having 1,000th of a share. Yeah,
it's your share split.
Leon says the Neo ET7 also got tested in New Zealand. Yep, it totally did. We covered that in the magazine before. Mark Buckingham says the Southern Hemisphere Proving Grounds, which is what the testing thing, has a V3 supercharger, and it was here before most of the others.
Is that what SHPG means? Okay.
Yes. I have a funny feeling, and I may be wrong, that Porsche actually had ChargeNet put some charging up there prior to the supercharger arriving, but I may be wrong on that. Margaret Baker says the first. She was the first EV taxi driver in the country. Yeah. Now, let's go from a vehicle that we can lust over but can't have to a vehicle that you can go and plonk your money on now. And that is the high-performance Kia EV6 GT, which is arriving in 2023. Kia New Zealand has announced it's now taking orders through dealerships for the $139,990 EV6 GT for customer delivery in early 2023. The new flagship EV6 GT brings supercar performance to zero emissions motoring, according to the manufacturer, provides 430 kilowatts and 740 newton meters of electric power and more than 424 kilometers of driving range, which can be topped up quickly thanks to its 800 volt charging technology. This is one quick car. I have seen a video on the internet of this thing doing smoky big burnouts, so I'm not sure if Adam Metalbob is in the crowd, but yes, it does burnouts, Adam. Yeah, that is a pretty cool car. I'm pretty sure I actually saw one on a truck the other day. There may be some here. I don't know. Maybe wrong. But you've driven the EV6 as well, haven't you, Gav? It's a pretty cool car.
It is a very cool car. It's one of those cars that, I mean, looking at that angle now, it looks like it's moving when it's not. It looks really swish, really sleek. It's like it did its hair on a windy day. It looks wicked. I like it. That being said, if I had to choose between the Ioniq 5 and the EV6 purely based on looks, I'd just take the Ioniq 5 just because I like it. The Tron looking thing. It just looks radical. But that's very cool.
Yeah. But I guess if you're going to do a performance one, the EV6 is the one to do. It does seem to have the crisper chassis skid up, slightly shorter on the wheelbase. It's neat. I guess the question is it worth, going a Kia over, say, a Model 3 Performance or a BMW i4 M50? They're all kind of in the same kind of budget ballpark.
The only thing I can think of that has over the Model 3 is definitely bucket loads more legroom in the back. So if you've got very large children, then that would be the thing to go with.
Yeah.
But otherwise, yeah.
Yeah, you take those three cars and it's they're all kind of in that same kind of performance range. I think the BMW is 370 kilowatts and 750 newton meters. I can't remember off the top of my head what the Tesla is, but they're all in that mid 3 kind of 0 to 100 range. It's great that we've got options there. I'm not going to say which one's better or which one's not or thing, but it's great that we've got options there, I guess. Now on to the next one. And that's got a picture of the Ora Cat at the end, but that's because it's going to go on show in Christchurch. So 50 plus BEVs going on show in Christchurch. The Ora Good Cat, Tesla Model Y, BYD Atto 3, LEV EV T60 Ute, and other electric offerings from about 20 car brands, including Audi, BMW, Hyundai, Ford, and Nissan, will be among more than 50 battery electric vehicles on show at a 2-day Christchurch expo. The Take Charge Christchurch Expo has been organised by the Christchurch City Council at the city's Te Pai Convention Centre on September 17 and 18 and is free to the public. It's pretty cool that so much effort's being put into getting these EVs out there for people to look at. I know we've just had an event up in Christchurch, in Whangarei, and I'm sure someone might jump into the comments and tell me how that went, where they had the Atto 3 and the Ute again. So that Ute is really getting around the country at the moment. It's great to see this. I think there's an Auckland meetup coming up as well. If you are organising a meetup, don't forget to let us know. So email jeff@automediagroup.co.nz. I can see why you're giggling there. And send us the details, and we'll promote it through the magazine, the website, and through the live stream. And if you're lucky, we may even try and turn up with something to drive if I can get my child out of bed in time in the morning. Do you get out to any of these events? I saw you took your Allegro to a car the other day, but not quite
because it turns out my uncle actually organises it. He's the head organiser. I met with him the night before the Coffee and Cars event at Mount Spart Stadium, and he's got an Impala, and he's a big petrol head, and not an electric car fan, but he has bought a hybrid. So I'm pushing him in the right direction. And he said that you should bring your car along. And I said, that? The Austin Allegro? And he said, yeah, there's lots of British pieces there. And I thought, all right. So I woke up. I thought, okay, it's going to be muscle cars. I'll take that British turd along and see what happens. A lot of people were looking at it. I was blown away. And I was actually standing about 30, 40 meters away in the shade on my phone. And someone walked past and they were looking at it and they didn't know I was the owner. And he walked past me and said, there's an Allegro. Well, they were ugly then, they're ugly now, but they are a classic. So I'll take that. But yeah, to answer your question, I would love to get to more of these events. That's why I've just been busily scribbling that down. Was it 17th of February? September.
Yeah.
17th of September. Okay. That would be
Find
cool.
it all on evsandbeyond.co.nz. We'll go back to the comments briefly. Ned, and I guess he's talking about the Kias, says, what a crazy amount of money, right? Well, it is, Ned. But think about what people have paid through dealership you work at for things like Honda E's, and then look at what you're getting, I guess, is probably the thing. He'd also take the iconic, not a fan of the taillights.
Interesting. Okay.
Mark Buckingham says Ionic 5N. Yep. Dave. I'm not even saying that one.
I'm so surprised Ecotricity let me get away with that. I thought that those lines are going to be for the chopping block. They're a good bunch.
Mr. Comment Section Ned also says, yes, please, Envision. Paul O'Connor says, the Christchurch City Council probably have put the show in the cycleway. I'm sure there's some background there. And Margaret Baker says, lots of interest in the Ute and Whangarei. Several people who had BYD and Model Ys on order. A great morning. And it's great when people can do stuff, particularly in the regional centres, because it's not always easy for these people to get down to the dealerships in Auckland or the bigger cities to see them. So good work for those people who get up on a chilly morning and roll your cars out there. Now, we are going to go on to a topic that I know there's a few people in the room wanting to hear, maybe a few Australians jealously waiting to see our details, and that is the absolute catastrophic failure in communications, or whatever the heck it is, in Australia with BYD and their warranties. And let's be clear, this isn't the company that's distributing in BYD in New Zealand. We'll get to that in a second. But I'm not sure if people have been keeping an eye on what's going on in Australia. The summary being that BYD is the distributor of their EV Direct, which is now calling itself BYD Australia. They implied certain things when people placed orders for their vehicles earlier on, things around the warranty, being certain terms. I won't go into the exact details of exactly what they promised, but it was certainly longer than what has ended up being. So discussion around price, discussion around guaranteeing the car has an NCAP 5-star, which we still don't know yet. All sorts of things, and it would appear poor communication, and the market over there is somewhat turning on them. The latest being when they released details of the service pricing and of the warranty, that things were not particularly as people were expecting. So, for example, the servicing is at a price where I think it works out to be about $3,500 over 6 years, and we've discussed this previously in the last session. We can get into the debate about whether EVs need to be serviced or not, etc., etc. But yeah, it's been absolutely nuts over there. To the point now where we have people who are cancelling and encouraging other people to cancel. So we now have in Australia a petition that 939 people have signed asking for EV Direct to honour their original suggestions around the warranty. We have people posting up online their cancellation confirmations and their new Model Y orders because they've decided to cancel their orders. I don't know if these are people that ever would have gone ahead with their order or not.
That's true.
But they're getting pretty crazy over there. We're getting people writing long conspiracy theories about why they think the pricing is so high and so forth.
On the internet in 2022, outrageous. Don't believe it.
But the question is, do they have something to complain about? Now, if I go over here to New Zealand, this is the New Zealand warranty. So they have a traction battery warranty of 8 years, 160,000 kilometres, and to trigger that, you've got to, I think you fall under 70% state of health. Right. The drive unit, 8 years, 150,000 kilometres, pretty comprehensive there. All parts of the complete vehicle except the parts listed above, 6 years, 150,000 kilometres. So essentially you can say it's a 6-year bumper-to-bumper warranty with some extensions. Nice and simple, easy to market, and a good rounded warranty. I think that's a lot less red tape than a lot of them out there. You see a lot of these longer warranties, they do have a lot of fishhooks in them. That one's pretty clear. This is a very, and I've taken this from the Australian BYD owners page, a very simplified version of the structure of the Australian warranty. So the traction battery is 8 years. The drive unit is 8 years. The lights and tyre monitoring module, suspension and ball joints, 4 years, 100,000 K. The multimedia system, shock absorber belt, dust cover, brushing or gasket, release bearing, wheel bearing, PM 2.5 measuring instrument, AC/DC charging port assembly, USB charging port connector, 3 years, 60,000 kilometers. So after 3 years or just 60,000 kilometers, your AC/DC charging port is out of warranty. Just think about that for a second. The lead acid battery, 1 year, I kind of get that. Air conditioner filters, button battery, brake pad, clutch disc, tyre, wiper blade assembly, bulbs, fuse, ordinary relay excluding integrated control unit, 6 months.
Wait, what? I thought that was 6 years. 6 months.
6 months. And I'm trying to work out where the car has a clutch, but maybe it does. Maybe
it's a clutch in the air conditioning or something.
I think
that would make sense. No.
Yeah.
They don't have clutches in electric air conditioning.
Yeah. All other parts of complete vehicles, except the parts listed above, 6 years, 150,000 kilometers. Now, my understanding was people were originally expecting 8 years on the car or 7 years on the car, and it for it to be more comprehensive. So this isn't just a case of they've shrunk it to 6 years. They've gutted it, absolutely gutted it, and taken out so many things which are so important. And on top of that, they've reduced roadside assistance to 1 year, only 1 year of roadside assistance. So,
what does that mean? It means what? How little faith do they have in Australia and their product?
There's so many questions going out why they do it. Some of the theories are that they've got this complicated structure in Australia. I think, and I don't think it comes from a place of bad intention or whether it's come from a case of just misunderstanding the industry. We spoke with Luke Todd very early on in the piece in regards to how they were going to do things, and he was very bullish about it was going to be like. Not like Tesla, but, in that kind of direct frame, all these savings, the prices could be lower, so on and so forth. That's all good and well, but Tesla broke a lot of eggs to get their system up and running. They pissed off a lot of people. And they had the passion from people and I think, first mover ability to do that.
Yeah.
BYD doesn't have that. And so what EV Direct have had to do is bring in partners. They brought in My Car, who are a vehicle servicing network. They brought in Eagers Group, who are a large dealer network, who've taken I think 49% share in the company in order to be able to deliver and sell these vehicles. But that doesn't come for free. So while they may have originally had that idea of that you can bring those cars in, sell them direct, save all this money, and deliver them, the reality in the world of distributorship is just not true. And I've got to look. People know we're good friends with Ron Wilmot here, who's the brand manager for BYD in New Zealand for the Ateco Group. So to be clear, we are friends with Warren Wilmot, but I think anyone here would agree BYD New Zealand has done a really good job. They've generally under-promised and over-delivered. They've kept that warranty intact. There's been some arguments that maybe the pricing was a little high, but I think you're getting a far smoother experience for your pricing. And I've noted that some people in Australia were saying they probably would have rather had that the car was just $3,000 more expensive in the first place than have all the little added issues they're having now with the distribution. So yeah, it's interesting. Some of the EV media over there is turning on them a little bit. Driven.io has been running some stories indicating that there's issues there. The Electric Viking has been very loud in his exasperation at what BYD's been up to, and I believe he's cancelled his order. We spoke to Luke Todd recently about it. He suggested that they've had very few or pretty much no cancelled orders at the time we'd spoken to him. That appears to not be the case now, to the point where we're seeing people note they're actually getting their paid out deposits refunded back. And he stands by what they've done. I don't know where this is going to go. I think they're certainly going to lose some of those early adopters they would have picked up and had long time BYD customers. It's you got any thoughts as to why this is just going so hard? And look, it's a terrible move in Australia where EVs are on such a fragile footing anyway.
They are. They really are. No, I think like you said, BYD in New Zealand, they seem to have done everything right. And unlike you, I have no friends at BYD, so it doesn't affect me to say that. But what's happening in Australia is bizarre because, like you say, this is the time where you want to do everything right because the Australians want electric cars for whatever reason, for probably many very good reasons. They haven't had electric cars in great numbers like we've had in New Zealand. So you'd want to do everything right and not piss off customers early on before you're even starting to make sizable deliveries. And this could really damage the reputation long term. And this is going to be things when you're at the bar in Australia and you're cracking open a 4X or whatever they do over there, drinking cold juice, and you want to talk about electric cars, that will come up. Oh, yeah, but those warranties, that's going to come up. It's going to be one of those sticking points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. And I think BYD and China are going to be looking closely at the situation. I know people have been directly messaging BYD's global social media presence, emailing where they can find details, I believe China as well. It's just not a good look at all. Luckily for people in New Zealand, the situation is, well, some would argue not quite perfect in regards to servicing, a lot different. So I did had a hint dropped me today that there will be service plans released in the next coming days nationwide for BYD. We do know that some dealers have done that already, and that we've seen Andrew Sims put out a package. Euromark put out a package. We've now confirmed there will be nationwide packages. Part of those nationwide packages, and I noticed it was said packages that I was told, but there will be a 3-year $799 package, which I think is a pretty good figure. You do need to get your EV service, people, no matter what some people say in the comments section on Facebook. There is some work that needs to be done, and I think $799 for 3 years of motoring is not a bad wee number. So there will be more information coming out, but there will be a nationwide $799 service plan.
I know. What's that?
No,
four tanks of gas.
Yeah, exactly. If we go through the comments now, because there's certainly some interesting stuff popping up here. Martin says, thanks for mentioning the debacle in Oz, Richard. Says, I signed the position, but I'm still going ahead with the order at the moment. I think that's the way a lot of people are. They're unhappy, but they still think the car is worth it. Paul says, Australia, who would have thought?
Yeah.
Mark Buckingham says 60,000 kilometres is 1 year for some. Yes, that is.
Yes, but for Mark Buckingham, that's 6 months.
Yep. Song for Guy 1 says, beats me how a warranty can vary from country to country. It is actually not unusual for warranties and prices to vary from country to country, but more often than not, New Zealand has shorter warranties than Australia because we're arguably a less competitive market in the area where people are worried about warranties. People here are, if you're buying a new car in New Zealand up until kind of EVs, you were generally buying it because you could afford it and you weren't that worried about the rest of it. Or you're a fleet, which a lot of the time have different warranty terms and conditions anyway. So most warranties have been longer in Australia, and the argument with that goes is, we give the warranty that's competitive in the market. So they're more of a competitive, and I think it's a valid thing to note here. Warranties, by and large, are not related to what they think the vehicle is going to be like in the long run. It's based on what they think is going to be best for marketing the vehicle. And the prime example of that is, say, a brand like, some of the Chinese brands, MG and so forth. Now, I'm not going to challenge their reliability, but the argument goes is that they have a perception that they are likely to need more maintenance work or more repair work or have higher faults. But those companies, even though they may carry a slightly higher cost of doing it, will put bigger warranties on because it's a great marketing tool. It's a great way to give people confidence in the brand.
I was blown away by the MG warranty. Blown away. What was it, 7 years? I think it's
Yeah.
incredible.
It's a really good warranty. Crazy on that, albeit my one was bought just before the long warranty came out. I got the battery warranty, but not the car warranty.
Oh, that's okay. That's the important part.
Exactly. Policano says 60,000 for very few. He says, were they the Holden distributor and just copied and pasted the other warranty? No. Tricia says, compare that to my buying experience in New Zealand. I couldn't pick up the car, and my dealer in Hamilton delivered the car to my house in Tauranga today. Sorry, Australia.
Wow.
Yeah. Steve Hubbard says, I think there is a significant silent majority who are quietly waiting for our cars. Even that's a bit of a sticking point, though, isn't it? And look, it's great that people are just getting past this and understanding that it is what it is and being good with the brand. But I feel for you guys, you're waiting far longer than you were expected to have to get your car. Mark Jackerman says, would have been nice to get a box of merch like they did in Auckland.
Wait, what's the merch?
So I think some of the dealers will provide merchandise with the car when you pick it up. I certainly know, some people have got it with their BUA. When we bought our MG, we got merch with that. It's always a nice touch. And I've actually reinforced the dealers that I think giving people the full new car experience when they're buying an EV, or these EVs like these BYDs or Model 3s, is really important because it's the first time a lot of these people are buying a new car. So you want to make it feel as special as possible. I think, and so far from what I've seen, BYD dealers in New Zealand are doing a good job of that. Jado3 says, remember people complaining about a few $1,000 extra cost here in New Zealand? Looks like it was probably worth it in the long run. Exactly. You get what you pay for. And it was barely a couple of $1,000 by the time you worked out the taxes and everything. Trish Hudson says, cap, picnic blanket, etc. Are you jealous that they got merch and you didn't, Gav?
I didn't get any merch. Okay, that when I bought my Austin Allegro, he did throw in. There's a whole new set of new carpet in the boot that I've got to put in because it's all threadbare. But it did come with a cracked dashboard. Why are all the dashboards cracked? But anyway, yeah.
Mark Jackerman says, didn't even get a bow on my bonnet. If you watch our video, of course, we got the bow in the cover. Mark Smith says, I got a screen wipe with my Tesla.
Oh, gosh. a whole screen wipe.
Better than Apple, who I think charges $30 for them.
Better than iWipe.
And Clint says merch was a hat, coffee mug, umbrella, and beach mat. Thanks, Andrew Sims. Now, Clint, I think if you're the Clint I'm thinking, we need to get you on the show next week so email me at richard@automediagroup.co.nz, because if you're the right Clint, this clever man has been side-loading apps onto his BYD. Can't say I'd recommend it, but it's certainly interesting to see what you can do when you have an open platform like Android running on your car.
Oh, yeah.
So while the rest of us wait, Clint's already got... if
it is the right Clint, what apps have you seen this person slide
Waze
on?
and Spotify and a better route planner.
Oh, so, okay. So it didn't come with Spotify.
So with the BYDs, they are... The touchscreen infotainment system is basically just an Android tablet. Okay. I think it's a good thing. And so, theoretically, eventually, you'll be permitted to load apps on there through a kind of BYD store that are Android-based apps.
Okay.
And as well, you'll get your Android Apple CarPlay and Apple Android Auto and Apple CarPlay loaded on. Mike Smith says, what's the worst that could happen? Oh. And yes, I realise that, and maybe I need to backpedal a little and have a chat to my friends at BYD in New Zealand before we...
before we start. Let's just edit this whole part out. All right.
Yeah. It's live, Gavin. We can't edit it out. Everyone heard your semen joke live.
Oh, gosh. Am I shaking the baby? All right, okay. I'm not Gavin. I'm actually Gavin's imposter twin.
Mark Smith says, it helped they used encryption keys from the examples book. I don't want to know, and I'm going to just take that away. Right. So, in summary, Australia, God knows what's happening. New Zealand, people complained about the pricing, but now everyone's going, New Zealand's pretty good. It was worth it. Yeah, exactly. So look, I'm sorry our Aussie friends who are watching are having to go through that. Look, the car is worth it. That's all I'll say. It reminds me of the situation back when we got our MG, is that we could have waited around for the subsidies. Everyone knew the subsidies were coming. No one knew when. And it was a case of you could either wait and spend more money on petrol and miss out on driving an EV, or just go ahead and deal with it. And in the end, we just went ahead and didn't get the subsidy. But
How soon later did the subsidies come for you, though? A year, 6 months, the next day?
a few months. But
Okay, all right.
but the thing with it is, I always argue with an EV is that you're almost just better off going for it. Again, look,
Oh, yeah.
unless you can guarantee it's going to arrive, at a fixed point in time, in which case the dealership will probably just help you delay the delivery anyway. Then don't wait.
No,
and it's the same with this. It's the same with the Speedway. Look, they're likely to fix that servicing price over there eventually, and there's all sorts of things you can do. You don't actually, you've got some flexibility with servicing over there, but I think don't cancel. Just get your car, and it'll be right in the long run, and you'll be glad for it. It is a really cool car. I really enjoyed driving it so far. The wife's enjoying driving it so far. It's just, it's a real. The thing that strikes me every time I jump into that car is how premium it feels for the price. And that's the thing that kind of lingers. And just its ability to do those miles is really good.
I don't know why I'm nodding. I haven't driven with you.
Come on up and we'll chuck you an hours. Look, I spent the weekend in a $140,000 BMW EV, fantastic. But I did not feel like I was getting into anything poverty spec, jumping back into the BYD, which I think says quite a lot. Right now, let's just answer the last couple of questions, and then I'm going to run because apparently the toddler is awake. Song for Guy 1 says, have you tried the V12 yet? And if so, what is the maximum output? I've heard it's more than the advertised 2.1. Yeah, I believe it's about 3 kilowatts. I think Transnet was saying in our first stream. And no, I haven't tried it yet. It's still coming. Song for Guy 1 says, literally received my transit in notice on an hour ago. That's great. Martin Snee says, serious question, Richard, is the quality of the interior okay? The interior of the quality of the interior is good. The choice of materials is probably what is causing people to have concerns. For example, that muscle type material in there, I actually think it's quite a good material, I guess, and it probably absorbs sound and so forth. But yeah, it can look a little bit funny. The only place I've really been worried about the plastics though has been maybe the dumbbell air vent in the front. Everything else feels pretty decent. And you're always going to end up with a bit of a balance there when you're going for those whites and those funny different colors as to whether things are going to look good or quality, as opposed to just doing what MG did and just chucking black on everything, which is always going to look pretty decently solid. When you've got dogs, black and boring is good. But no, I think the actual build of the vehicle is pretty darn good. I saw someone online questioning the paint the other day. I think the paint on our one is light years ahead of the paint on any Tesla I've ever seen. And actually better than a lot of Korean stuff I've seen too. So I'm not sure whether we got a good car and someone got something that was made on a Friday afternoon. But yeah, I was pretty impressed. Ross says, love the adaptive cruise, use it all the time.
My favorite gadgets.
Yeah, Martin says thanks, and Ned says, I wonder if the servicing costs are high. Are they high to tune all those guitar strings? And I think I saw something the other day, maybe jokingly, providing the notes that those guitar strings play.
I'll have to check that out. I do actually get my hands on one soon. I have a date confirmed.
Oh, awesome. And Trish Hudson says the door closing sound is pretty solid. And on that door closing bombshell, we will end. Thank you so much for joining me, Gavin. Thank you so much for joining me, everyone in the comment section. Don't forget, share this. And what I was just, a lot of you are watching on Facebook. It sounds silly. Watch on YouTube. The quality is a bit higher. The comments, I think, work a little better. Not that I really care where you watch it. We get the numbers no matter what. But yep, we will send out the on the YouTube channel tomorrow. The video of the road trip will launch. It's a bit rough because I was literally, as you saw, took the vehicle, jumped in the car, and drove for 1,500 kilometers. So bear with me on that. I probably picked the wrong camera for the job, but it's still a cool video. Don't forget to go to Gavin's YouTube channel. Say that again, Gavin, your YouTube channel.
Just type in Ecotricity.
Yep, and watch all the great videos that he has going. So Thanks again, everyone, for joining us, and we will see you this time, or 8 o'clock, next Tuesday.